Money doesn't buy happiness.
Here we go.
You
This is
live
the part
in
I want.
America because it buys a wave runner. You ever seen a sad person on a wave runner? Have you? Seriously, have you? Seriously, have you? Try to frown on a wave runner.
Oh man, I was thinking about that joke of just like money doesn't buy happiness, and you're like, yeah, but have you ever tried to frown on a wave runner before? So
Have you? I have.
Right. So let's go ahead and kick this show off. Today on the Customer Engagement Lab, we are joined by Ian Koniak, who's the Strategic Account Director at Salesforce, a sales coach, and a 2021 Top 100 LinkedIn Sales Star. You can probably find him running around his neighborhood, pushing a stroller and spouting sales wisdom and advice that makes you want to hug the guy. Welcome to the show, Ian. All right.
Love it,
Man, yeah.
Bring the hype, baby. Come on, let's go.
Oh, that was a great intro, Travis. Wow.
That's the best I've heard, man. The pushing the
Yeah.
stroller is the real deal. I got no time to make these videos except when I'm holding the baby, walking around. So multitasking at large.
Rocking the dad life, man. I love it. I've become pretty addicted to watching your sales coaching videos on LinkedIn. And I wanted to, in this show, we try to have a little bit more fun. We blend comedy with business, and we like to show our guests a couple of TikTok videos, get their responses and see what they think about these. They're usually related to sales. Sometimes it's a fringe case. So are you down for us to show you some videos and then we can talk about them, and then we'll show some of your clips too?
Let's TikTok it, baby. I don't know if that's a verb, TikTok it, but let's do it.
It is now. Who cares?
It is now. All right.
This is how you handle the objection. I need to think about it. I like this, but I need to think about it. Mark, I understand that. And as a consumer, I've said the exact same thing. And it usually boils down to one of two reasons. Either one, I'm not interested, that I'm just trying to be polite to the salesperson. Or two, I am interested, but there's still a concern that hasn't been addressed yet. Which of those categories do you fall into? This is how you handle the objection.
All right, guys. I'm eager to hear what you think about his objection handling with that specific one, because that happened to me this week. Somebody was trying to sell me ADT security services, and I just was trying to be polite and was like,
I like it. Because it forces the buyer to basically call out. It's calling them out and asking them. I would change which of these two. I would probably add something like, is there something else other than those two you need to think about? Would you mind sharing? I just like that it's putting it back to them and kind of getting clarity for sure. Thumbs up on my side.
Yeah, I like it structurally, but if somebody delivered it that way to me, I'd probably be like, yo, are you reading off something?
Yeah, it felt scripted for sure.
Yeah.
Like, which of these two do you fall into? That I would never say that, but just the call out of like, look, I hear it all the time, and a lot of times it's just a nice way to say I'm not interested and avoid, or there is something you really need to think about. Would you mind just like elaborating like what it is, on your mind that's causing you some hesitation? I would say something like that and get to the truth. And I like that as a message of actually calling out them to explain what it is that they want to think about, but I wouldn't deliver it that way either.
it's interesting because I just moved into a new home. I bought a home with my fiance, and thanks, man. And like part of it's a new construction, so they have like some of this smart home technology that I already paid for, and it includes stuff like one of those like touch padlocks where I can punch a code in to get to my front door, like a smart AC thermostat, and they need to come connect all this stuff once you get Wi-Fi, once you get settled in and you close on your home. And they also try to sell you security services. And I don't, like, a little bit about me, I don't have any kids. I just have a dog. I don't have a lot of stuff worth a lot quite yet. I'm just getting started in life. And so just not really interested. Never had security services in my life and been pretty fine, knock on wood, without it. And so I had a lot of hesitancy. He was like pushing me pretty hard on the phone. And it would have been really nice if he had been like, I can hear that you're hesitant. Does it, is it one of these things, or are you just simply not interested? And I had the technician come to my house today, and he's like, look, I'm not a salesman, But he's like, if it, you want to get security services hooked up when you decide to start a family, he's like, I just have young kids and now it's become important to me to have cameras in the front and the backyard and stuff like that. So let me know, I'll be your guy. I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to sell you. And so it just disarmed me as well. And so I thought this was like a cool experience to talk about with you guys of like, that objection of hearing that hesitancy.
Yeah. And I also think you could make it more conversational. I think sometimes when people handle objections, especially on hesitancy, they can monologue. And instead of like trying to get confirmation early on using maybe like a Voss style objection handle, they just kind of like launch into this tirade. And as a prospect, you can kind of just sit there and be like, can this guy stop talking for a second? You want to open it up a bit, I think, at the beginning.
That happened to me. I just said, look, man, I need to think about it. My excuse was I need to talk with my fiance about it because she wasn't on the call.
So you just weren't interested and you just straight lied to the guy.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to let him, it was the first one. You didn't want to make him feel bad and say no. Whereas for me, I would have just said, I'm sorry. I have this, mean Chihuahua and that's all the security I need. And, I'm sorry, but my dog, I think it's important. Like one of the things I do is I don't think about things very long. I really don't. I make a decision. I make it quickly because I'm so busy and I just don't have time for it. So we have a plumber that we're putting in, per my wife, a new water softening system for our whole house and back house and everything. And it makes the water soft. So it'll make her skin nice and it'll make our water also drinkable all throughout the house. And the cost was like, are we going to shop a bunch of plumbers and get a bunch of quotes for this installation? And I said, just use who the manufacturer recommends. I want it done right. And then the guy calls and he's like, do you need a quote before you commit? Right. And I'm like, well, I'd like to know what it costs, but we're going to use you either way because the other person's in Thousand Oaks, 70 miles from here. So, and they came out and, it's just one of those things where if you think of selling as like helping people get what they want, I need this thing installed. I'm not going to have these giant cylinders sitting in the side of my house. I need to get them set up. Right. So if you think about whatever product or service you're selling, helping them get whatever it is they need to get, in most cases of B2B tech sales, it's, advancement of their business or their personal agenda. Right. And if you just consider it that way, you're really just helping people take something off their plate that's been bothering them or challenging them for a long time. So I have no problem being transparent. If someone says, I need to think about it, I'm like, help me understand, what exactly is causing you hesitation. And I'll just pause and let them tell me, and then we can address it. Because until you get to that truth, until you find the real reason why they're hesitant, then there's no sale. So you just got to give people a voice to express it. And then once they tell you, you can work around and try and figure out a solution for them.
Yeah. And I like the tip too, though, is like, as the consumer, I think when I was talking to the guy, I hadn't yet talked with my fiance and I did want to get her buy-in of like, do you want a security system? Like, we haven't talked about it yet. I had already just made up my mind that I didn't want one. But you're right. Maybe like just being more upfront as the consumer and being like, yeah, man, look, I'm going to talk to my fiance, but I'm pretty sure I don't need this stuff. So appreciate your help, but I'm good.
Yeah, I just tell you, I just give you a hard time about the lying thing, Travis. It's most people. Most people don't want to disappoint a salesperson. They don't want to reject them because they feel bad, right? We're humans. We don't want to make someone feel bad. But the reality is that as a salesperson, I would much rather know if someone's not interested. So I'm not, bugging them or calling back or putting them in an opportunity that is not real. So for me, I appreciate it if someone says they're not interested and tells me why. And if it's not the right thing for them, then it just helps me save a lot of time downstream trying to sell them.
Okay, so this next TikTok I want to show you is, I think, a little bit more up your alley, Ian, in terms of some of the self-improvement stuff, mental health advocacy, struggling when you don't have the motivation, and just the struggles of being a salesperson. So I'm gonna open this clip up real quick.
It's time for your next adventure.
I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow.
How exciting.
Relatable or not relatable, boys?
Yes, for
Yes.
sure. For sure. You got to hype yourself up. It's like that battle. Like, do I really want to keep going through this endless roller coaster of build, close, build, close? I think, yeah, and there's ways around that we can get through. So you're never short of pipeline. And I'm happy to dive into that.
I think for those that are just listening, I'll give some context too, if they didn't get to see the text that's on this TikTok clip. It's Will Atkin is kind of pretending to be a salesperson living the circle of sales life. And he's exhausted after just hitting target in Q2. And then his sales manager comes in and says, like, let's dive right into Q3. And he's like, I've got no pipeline left. And I think it's a quote. The original sound is, it sounded like Robin Williams. Do you know what movie that was from?
No idea.
I might have to source that.
Rip
But
to the great.
Let's see. There were some of the comments in here that I thought were worth talking about too. Let's see. Somebody mentioned like, you got to get the Jeb Blunt book called Fanatical Prospecting and solve that problem for me. But Ian, yeah, what do you think about the issue of feeling like you have no pipeline left once you get to the next quarter?
Well, the root of that issue is people have, I haven't thought of a name for it yet, but what happens is you build up your pipe. And if you're an annual quota like me with enterprise, I'm dealing with, very large deals, large quotas. It's typically kind of the first half of the year building up pipeline and the second half of the year closing it. And then you start the year all over again. And it's like, man, where am I going to get it from? And the good people, figure out a way and they end up consistently performing year over year. And the bad ones kind of consistently don't perform year over year. And, in an SMB or a smaller sales cycle, that same thing is a month or a quarter type of repeat cycle. And the way that I worked around this at Salesforce, I have hit my quota now 4 years in a row, and then my fifth year before that was 95%. So had a pretty solid run over there. And then when I was at Ricoh, which was admittedly a more transactional sale, we were selling copiers and printers and more kind of a hustle and grind type door to door, very very difficult. And I was there 10 years. And in that time, I hit my quota 42 months in a row, which was the record for any company. I've never heard of that before. It certainly was a record at Ricoh. And people ask me, like, how did you do that? Right? 42 months in a row. Well, first of all, my bonus every quarter was based on hitting. It accelerated if I hit it all 3 months versus 2 months versus 1 month. So it like doubled my commission to be consistent. So my the simple explanation of how to do it is, even as you're advancing your pipeline, that's in your pipeline, you're always growing and focusing on prospecting, even as you're closing and focusing on advancing deals. So what I talk about a lot is the concept of RGAs, which stands for revenue generating activities. So in RGA, there's two types of RGAs. There's the advancement of pipeline and there's the creation of pipeline. Okay. Advancement of pipeline is the follow-up meetings. It's the demos. It's the proposal presentations. It's getting paperwork pushed through, or Panda Docs pushed through in your case. It's literally everything that happens after that initial meeting. And the creation of pipeline is all of your prospecting, your emails, your cadence, your follow-up, your cold calling, anything to get that meeting. And 100%, and I'm not kidding, nearly 100% of my 9 to 5 is spent on RGAs. So if it's not an RGA, I don't mess with it. If it's, expense reports, if it's mandatory training, if it's this customer service issue, I have a system that I teach my coaching clients about when and how to manage your time, efficiently. And I'll give you the quick and dirty of it. It's the 4D system. So it's either you're doing it now, which is if it's quick, fast, and deal related, you do it now. 2 minutes or less is my rule. If it's quick and 2 minutes or less, I'll do it now. I'll do it later, which is the second D, defer it, right? Which is I'm time blocking it and putting my calendar for a later time because it's going to take longer. The third D is I'm delegating it. So, literally billing issue, customer service issue, anything that's kind of outside of my window, I put my team to work. I got a team of about 30 people, and I'm definitely quarterbacking versus taking on everything myself. And then the fourth D is delete it, and that's probably most of the time I'm deleting things that come in. I'm just ignoring it. It's not that important, right? So I think it's really, really important to prospect every day as you advance pipeline. And when I was at Rico, my rule was do 2 and set 2 every day. 2 appointments and set 2 appointments. I knew that if I did 2 appointments every day, that means I do 10 a week. And based on my ratios, that meant I would create 4 new opportunities in my pipeline, right? Every single week, or 16 a month. And even in my first year in sales, I was terrible. I closed 25% of my deals. So I would close an average of 4 deals a month. Well, those deal sizes averaged about 10K per deal. So I was closing about 40K a month. My quota was 30. I finished 33% of plan, and I was off to the races. And then that never stopped. That cadence of doing 2 and setting 2 never stopped. But what changed is my ratios got a lot better. So instead of closing 1 out of 4 deals, I was closing 1 out of 3, and then one out of 2. And then instead of closing deals that were 10K, my average deal size got a lot higher as I went after bigger accounts. And so my numbers went from, selling around 500K to selling over $1 million and ultimately over 2 million, selling transactional copiers. And so that's kind of what I took to Salesforce, and always had that kind of always be prospecting mindset that, didn't get me running circles around my existing pipeline without failing to add new ones. Right. So that's what I've had really for 18 years. I've had that philosophy, and you just don't end up with a pipeline shortage at the beginning of the quarter or the year if you're doing that. At the beginning of the next year, you will, as you get a new territory or assignment. Of course, you're going to start fresh, but it doesn't happen at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, because you generally are always adding, which always pushes out deals throughout the year that you're going to work, once the month or quarter is over.
That is so brilliant that I literally started typing it to my team's Slack channel as you were saying. I'm like, they need to hear this now. I needed to hear that.
Put me in front of them, dude. We'll get a little motivation.
When
we get a motivational talk for your team meeting.
I've been trying to delete so many meetings. Like anytime I have something that I'm like, all right, that's not going to serve me right now, I try to put it off. It gets hard with the trainings and stuff, right? Because you don't want to piss anybody off.
You have to say no, dude. You have to say no. I mean, if it's a training that's really not, I'm sorry, but the amount of training that my company puts forward, like a lot of it, I'm never going to use. It's not even relevant. So if I'm not going to use it and it's not relevant to my job, then I'm just going to click through if I have to, and, take the test over and over again. I hate to say that. I might get some backlash for that. But the truth is that companies and leaders need to be mindful of what they're making their AEs do, because a lot of it is simply not helpful. Right. And I think that Salesforce does a really, really good job of keeping the enablement, focused for the specific groups we're in for like enterprise selling. But, frankly, this year there's a lot of new training. They have a new training initiative, and because we have so many reps, but I've been there 8.5 years. So I know a lot of this stuff already. So I think training should be tailored to the audience and the tenure of the people. And otherwise it's just it's just a waste of everyone's time and money, a lot of money.
So the next thing I wanted to share was one of your posts, Ian. I'm going to pull it up here. This one I really liked. I'll screen this bad boy. You posted, let's see, this was about a month ago. You were on BombBomb's podcast, I believe. It was called Selling from the Heart. And this post was just so awesome. I'm gonna read it if that's okay, just for those that are listening in their car or at the gym or whatever. But you wrote, for the bulk of my career, I believed happiness came from crushing it in sales. If I hit my quota, I was happy. If I didn't, I beat myself up and felt miserable. I also believed a high income would enable me to buy things that made me happy. Newsflash, it didn't. 2016, I bought a Maserati. It was fun to drive, but that was it. 2017, I finished #1 at Salesforce, made 6 figures. I was proud of myself, but still felt empty inside. 2018,
7 figures. I got to interrupt you. 7 figures. On
excuse me, 7 figures. That's 2018, I bought my dream home, but it didn't deliver what I needed. 2019, after a near-death experience, I made a promise to God that I would start serving others. I started a sales coaching business and began to feel better inside. 2020, I nearly lost my family and made a decision to face my demons and get sober. Had my second son and felt true gratitude and inner peace for the first time in my life. 2021, took 6 months off for paternity leave, bonding with my family, continuing to work on myself, sharing my story so I can help others with similar struggles. Finally found what I was looking for. Turns out it was right in front of me the entire time. Chasing achievement won't fulfill you. Man, there is so much to this post. Do you want to dive in a little bit too and tell us a little bit more context behind this post? And
yeah, now you're speaking my language, Travis. This is what gets me excited. So man, I mean, it's just been a journey. Like I think the 2021 that we're looking at, facing my demons and getting sober, that has been the most life-changing thing for me. So just for context, sobriety and addiction, totally misunderstood, totally rampant in sales. And I certainly was no exception. And it could be addicted to success or work or feeling, getting your self-worth from your achievement, right? Addiction, people think of, and they think of drugs and alcohol and being in rehab or being homeless or whatever. And that's just not the case, right? You can be addicted to anything, and sales is highly stressful. And with stress comes a need to escape or detach or medicate, however you want to position it. And that was my life. So my entire life, I was chasing achievement. I was chasing success in a more worldly, material type of, fashion. I thought, if I had all the wealth and I had the beautiful wife and the kids and the picket fence and, the investment properties and the net worth of, whatever millions I was trying to get, that I would be happy. And, the whole time, every time I got what I wanted, I felt empty inside. And so I just aimed higher. And I think that's kind of the pattern, high achievers do. They want to just aim for higher, maybe a bigger promotion, better job, higher OTE, better territory. And it's like that chase is going to essentially go on forever. It's like a dog chasing its tail. You're never going to catch it because there's always another level, right? And some people confuse that for ambition. And that's different than ambition. I'm more ambitious than I've ever been, but in different areas. Okay. So I was chasing wealth and image, I think is probably the best way to put it. And what I'm chasing now is my potential, right? So now when I think of success, I think it's important everyone create their own definition of success, because success is unique to each person. And for me, what I thought would, make me happy was being successful in my career and my job. And it didn't deliver what I was looking for. And so I always had this void that I was trying to fill with all kinds of vices, right? And, this void just never went away until I faced my demons and started thinking about, what, and I won't get into the bloody details because it's really painful, but in 2020, I almost lost my wife. I almost lost my family, and it was related to one of my addictions. And I was a highly functioning addict. You would never know I had, addictions because I was so successful on the outside. But meanwhile, when I wasn't working, I'd get drunk or smoke pot or go to strip clubs or play video games, sometimes for hours on end, till 2 a.m. And if I had work the next day, it's like I had to be doing something. And, one of those vices, you probably guess which one, got me in trouble with my wife. And, it was something that I never thought was a problem because I did it in secrecy, right? It was related to pornography. And when she found out, we had a horrible incident, and it just rocked my world. We had to take, she was pregnant, and she got so upset that I had been doing things in secret that, she started having contractions, and we had to go to the hospital. And I thought we were going to lose the baby. I really did. And that was my come to Jesus moment where, I realized, even though I thought I was great and I thought I had done everything the way I was supposed to, I wasn't the person that I was, that I was proud of. And I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I had nearly, hurt my wife to the point where, she could have had a miscarriage. And that to me was like heart wrenching. And so on the way to the doctor to see if everything was okay, which we thought she was going to go into labor. She was only 4 months pregnant. So if she had gone into labor, we would have lost the baby. Unfortunately, and up until that point, I thought nothing that I did was it only was hurting myself, right? That was the truth. So we get to the doctor, and he puts the ultrasound on, and he basically feels the heartbeat. And I was like, thank God. And the entire way there, I was praying. I've always believed in God, but never really to the level I do now, I was praying. I said, God, I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it takes. I am committed to changing. I am committed to facing my demons. And so it's been 17 months to this day. This was February 13th, 2020, when this happened. It's been 17 months to this day where I have not gotten drunk. I have not smoked pot. I have not looked at pornography or gone to a strip club or anything like that, or played a video game or taken Adderall or gambled or, been on social media apps on my phone. And I cut it all out. I said, I got to deal with whatever it is that's making me want to do these things because I can't sit in my own skin. So it's been a spiritual journey for me. It's been a journey of living the life I was meant to be. And for me, one word sums it up. It's integrity. I need to live with integrity. I need to practice rigorous honesty. I need to commit to being a person that I can be proud of. And everything changed in that moment. My marriage is better than it ever has been. My wife, by God's grace, forgave me and decided she was going to give it a shot. I went into therapy. I addressed and I faced the things that I was most afraid of about myself. I came to the truth about why I was doing some of these things, which started in early childhood that I wasn't even aware of. And I come from a line of addicts. My father died when I was very young. I was only 20. He was 53. Lived a life of addiction and excess. My cousin died very young. And my brother, had similar struggles that cost him everything. And so I kind of was the golden child, and I had these skeletons that I never wanted anyone to see. But the truth is, the most free man in the world, the most free person in the world, is the one who has nothing to hide. And I can truly say it, that I have nothing to hide. That's why I can speak freely here, because I face those demons. And I hope I can inspire other people to focus on what's most important and not chase this imaginary dream, but instead chase what's right in front of you, which is, the connections and relationships with your loved ones, being the best version of yourself, facing your demons, and being of service to other people. So that's my story in a nutshell. And that's what that post is all about.
Wow. Ian, thank you so much for sharing that with us. First of all, these are the kinds of conversations I'm going to go home today and be like, holy crap. He made me want to be better today. That's amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much for such an honest look into your life. That was incredible.
You're welcome. I mean, it's something, because I coach a lot of guys, mostly a couple women, but mostly men. I see these things, and everyone carries so much shame around whatever it is that they're not proud of or hiding about themselves, whatever patterns. I see people that are just so ambitious, but on the weekends they party, get drunk, and on Sunday are just dreading going back to work and repeat it, and they don't know how to break out of it. It is so common in so many high stress, high pressure type of positions. And I see people whose marriages are on the rocks because they neglect their family. And, if I can inspire one person to put their time and energy into what matters most, which is not your W-2, right? It's actually the connections and the people in your life that you can support and love. Then I will have made a difference. And that's kind of what I'm after at this point, is just helping others learn from my own mistakes. Because I think if people look up to someone as like a sales, thought leader or a high performer, and they only see kind of that part, but they don't see the struggles and the inner, the inner obstacles or inner challenges this person has, then it's not as relatable. But what I try to do is just, help people realize hey, you're not alone. Everyone has something, and I think for me, it's been really important. Part of my journey is openly sharing what I went through, because it makes it so real that I'm not hiding something. And the more you hide, the more you try and neglect a part of yourself and beat yourself up or push something away, the bigger it's going to explode in your face. And I had that happen to me. So again, it's not like addiction recovery and facing your vices and demons is not something people talk about so much, but it is a huge part of my story. And it's a huge part of why I'm here, frankly. And it's a huge part of how I can serve people, because I understand and relate and empathize with what they might be going through and where they might be in that journey. And I think it just makes me more able to help my clients and and I'm glad that shines through in the post. That's exactly what I'm going for.
The last thing I wanted to pull from one of your posts, because there's just so much, but I think this kind of carries nicely into what we were just talking about. You had another post here about what to do when you're not feeling motivated. And this part particularly, I think, stands out to me. So I'll read it again for the audience. Here are 4 ways to get the most out of days when motivation is low. Give yourself grace. Try not to beat yourself up. It doesn't help. Accept that you are doing your best. Some days are simply better than others. Remind yourself that why you are working in the first place and who is impacted by the work you are doing. We have a strong why. It's much easier to push through the hardest days. Take a mulligan and limit the damage. Let one bad day remain just one rather than allowing it to turn into a slump. And I think, like, seriously great advice, especially as people are going through whatever it is they're going through as they're listening to this. Like for me personally, I've been moving into a new home, like it's so stressful. And I had forgotten what that was like. Even if you hire movers, there's just so many moving parts. You forget who you are because you're putting together too much damn IKEA furniture. And so, yeah, I think be kind to yourself, take that mulligan and give it a shot again the next day. And I'm trying to remember what that third one was. Oh, the most important one to me, I think, is remind yourself why you're working in the first place. Like, there are days that we all have. Patrick and I talk about it a lot on the show. You're just like, why am I doing this? You gotta remind yourself what your why is.
Can I show you something really powerful that I've been doing?
Yeah.
You'll be the first to see it publicly. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen on something I've been working on, which I think sums up that post and sums up a lot more than that, frankly. It's like, why are we as humans beating ourselves up all the time? And I've tried to like kind of figure this out and wrap my head around it to be able to give yourself grace. And here's what I've come up with. So I'm going to do my attempt at a Zoom whiteboard real quick and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is a chart this will be on video too, right? For the audience that can see it. Is that right?
For sure.
Yep.
So this is what I call the alignment chart, right? So alignment means we are congruent, we are in agreement, we are aligned. So you have this concept, and there's really 2 parts of the chart. The first is our results or our performance. Okay. And on the one hand, you have your results and performance. On the other side, you're going to have your time. Okay. And this is your timeline. It's your years, essentially. And in a perfect world, there's a straight line going up and to the right. And this is your potential line. That's what this is. This is a potential line. And the idea is really simple, okay? As we get older, our potential grows as human beings. Why? Well, think about it. I have an 11-month-old. He has absolutely, sure, there's unlimited potential in the future, but right today, right, he can't do very much. He can't walk. He can't feed himself. He can't even change. He can't go to the bathroom. He is literally helpless to achieve and get results and performance on his own. He needs to be cared for. As he gets older and grows up, right, you have more potential. You can be a driver, you get your license, you go to college, you learn more, you start working, you gain experience. And the older and wiser we get, the greater capacity we have to improve our results and performance. Okay, so that's the potential line. Well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is this line. Okay, and can you guess what this line is, Patrick? Right here. Any
What's
guess?
the line?
Reality,
There you go.
challenges.
Travis got it. So this is the
Reality.
actual line. Okay. This is the action line. That's what this is. And this may sound theoretical, but I promise you, actions, this is your actual actions. So when our actions are way lower than what our actual potential is, and we know it, there is a giant gap here. And this is what I call the alignment gap. Okay. It means we are out of alignment. It means we aren't doing the things we know we need to do to get where we want to go. And that is the source of all of our frustrations. It's knowing that we want to have a side hustle, but 5 o'clock rolls around, we grab a beer, we go on the couch, we watch TV, and it's all over again. Or we're not giving time for our relationship, or we're not getting to the gym, or all these things we want, which we're not actually doing. So if you want to fix and change this and live a true fulfilled life where you can achieve everything you've ever dreamed of and more, you need to get your actual as close as possible to your potential. This is where I live today. I am not kidding. I live so damn close to my potential every single day that I am filled from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed with things that I love, people that I love. I am training for a half marathon. I cook every night with my family. I spend quality time dancing with my family. I doing chores at night, cleaning up, getting stuff good for the house. At night, I bond with my wife, or I read, and I rinse and repeat. I wake up in the morning, I do my morning routine, I exercise, and I coach, I serve. I can't do any more. So when you're at a point where you truly are doing the things you know you can do on a daily basis, you can sleep well at night, and you are going to be in alignment. And that is the key, my friend, is really to know where you want to go, identify the actions to get there, and structure your days so that you're taking those actions. And if you can do that, anything is possible. I've built a multiple six-figure coaching business as a side hustle while raising a family, while recovering with sobriety, while training for a half marathon, while overachieving and hitting my number almost 5 years in a row at Salesforce. So I'm a person, if I can do it, other people can too. But it takes discipline. It takes knowing what you want and what's going to help you get there. And that is the key to life, my friend, right here. So this is kind of what I've been working on. First look you guys are getting here at the podcast. So
I had a question you sort of answered there, but besides like lacking discipline, what do you think is holding people back in that gap between the two lines?
I think they don't have a strong enough vision, right? Maybe they're trying to make all this money and they know the cold calling and the pipeline and the performance will get there, but they don't have a reason they're trying to get this money. They're just doing it for money, right? If you're doing it because you're supporting your family and you want to move into your dream home, that's very different than trying to just make an income for income's sake. So I think not having a clear vision, not just in their career, but in their personal life, right? I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, what kind of person do I want to be, right? So I know, because I fucked up so badly, part of my language, what kind of person I don't want to be. I know that, which drives me in the complete opposite direction. So those structures that I put in place to get sober, back to Travis's question earlier, are the same structures I put in place. So I had to do something called the 90 and 90. I went to 90 meetings in 90 days to get rid of all these vices, 12-step meetings, worked the 12-step program, got a sponsor, went to therapy every week. I put in so much focus on getting sober that there wasn't a chance in hell that I wasn't going to mess that one up, because I had my family to keep. So that was my reason, right? If I knew I would lose my family, right, the way my parents separated and I didn't get to see my dad growing up, man, I didn't want the same thing for my kids. I also didn't want to pass that addiction curse down to them. So when you have a strong why, I promise you will figure out a way how. And I think that's where people just don't spend the time to really reflect upon what they really want, what their definition of success is, what is their vision for, the life of their dreams, right? And they just go through the motions and freaking rinse and repeat. And all of a sudden the days become weeks, become months, become years, and years become, oh my God, I'm 40 and I'm having a midlife crisis. So that's the society we live in. So I think just knowing what you want, what it's going to take you to get there, surrounding with positive people that can help you get there and lift you up, I think is where people miss the most. It's just not clarity in terms of where they're going.
I need an Ian pep talk at least once a week. Like, whoa, that's what I need, baby.
You should start programming clips.
My low energy state too. Actually, you're seeing the espresso effects now.
It's starting to get up there again.
Yeah, it's up there. I didn't realize there was a correlation between this disappearing and my voice raising. There's 3 things that lead to happiness, right? Ultimately, there's 3 things. And the first thing is connection. And that's the most important. Having people in our lives and relationships in our lives that light us up, right? And we're humans. We're meant to connect, and that's why the pandemic had such a negative toll on mental health. And people are cooped up, and now we're seeing the joy in reconnecting with people. And I think that's the first thing. And especially having a relationship, having a significant other in a family, that was a big part of it. But also connection to the community and connection to friends and connection to family. The second thing was contribution. Feeling like what we do matters, right? Making a difference. So if you are contributing to, like, doing this podcast, for me, that's contribution. Coaching started as contribution. Now I'm doing it as a business, and it's contribution. And very important in sales to contribute to clients, feeling like what you sell and how you sell is helping them, right? Save time, save effort, reduce stress. I mean, you guys can map a lot of things to what PandaDoc can do in terms of helping people with being more productive and efficient, right? I know I've used it. So, and I do use it. So that's the second thing, is you have to feel like what you do matters and it's making a difference in the lives of other people. And the third thing is growth. We have to feel like we're going somewhere. That's why for me, it's always key to set goals that are, more ambitious than the last year, and have new goals refreshed on a regular basis. And that's what that post, again, is all about. It's about what matters now and what gives joy and fulfillment now. And it ain't the money, it ain't the success, it's the people, and feeling like what we're feeling. Integrity, service, and connection are, for me, what fills me up and makes me feel, the best I can be.
Well, I've got a very tongue-in-cheek video, Mr. Maserati, back in 2016 over here, that I'm going to share with you guys.
Oh no!
It's not a video of you. It's a video when I was listening to you talk.
I was going to say, you should see those videos back in 2000. It was like a different person, man. I look at those and I'm like,
This is a clip from Daniel Tosh. I remember seeing him live and hearing this joke, and thinking that it was pretty good.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
Here we go.
Do you
That's the
live
part
in
I want to
America? Because it buys a wave runner. You ever seen a sad person on a wave runner? Have you? Seriously, have you? Seriously, have you? Try to frown on a wave runner.
Oh man, I was thinking about that joke of just like, money doesn't buy happiness, and you're like, yeah, but have you ever tried to frown on a wave runner before? So
Have you? I have.
Right. So I don't want to poo-poo money. I mean, I'm very money motivated. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to build a pretty big thing right now with changing the way people sell and serving as many people as possible, and certainly monetizing it, right? So I don't want to sound like money doesn't matter. Okay. But the chase of money to make yourself feel like whole or complete is what I'm against, right? You have to feel good about who you are at your core. And you do that by the way you treat people and the way you show up and being authentic and acting with integrity. So I think, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's the differentiator, right? Like, I think that's the exact, I'm really glad you made that point, because like what Daniel's talking about, money isn't what's going to bring you happiness. It's not to poo-poo on money. Chasing money isn't, you have to be happy with who you are. I like the part you said earlier when you were talking about your own journey and your own story. And you said, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. All these vices and escapes that you're chasing, you got to ask yourself, why can't I just sit with just me, sober, alone, and be okay with that? And I was really, that hit me hard when you said that, because that's something I've struggled with too. So
a lot of people have, man. You're not, like I said, man, it's not you, it's not me. It's probably more people than not struggle with just being, right? So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with money. I live in a very expensive home and have rental properties and have a lot of money in the bank. And it's nice not to have to stress about paying the bills and be able to go, travel when you want, where you want, eat where you want, not have to stress. And that's the beauty of sales, is you can create that financial freedom. And I love that. I love not having to worry about it. But I think it's more about getting your self-worth from something outside of your net worth. That's what really is critical is, what if it all went away? How would you feel about yourself? Right? That's the question to ask, right? And
your self-worth outside your net worth. That, man.
You can coin that, baby. You can coin that. All right. So let's plug myself.
Yeah, man.
If you struggle with anything that I shared, send me a DM on LinkedIn and we can book a voluntary discovery call and we can see if coaching could be a fit. Certainly helped a lot of clients, and not only performance improvements with their sales, but also life improvements with facing things that maybe are holding them back. Best way to find me is LinkedIn with, just connect with me. And if you put a connection, I'll reply back. I'll send you my YouTube channel link, which has all my YouTube's videos housed, and I'll send you my newsletter link where you can sign up. And then every single week, you'll get a new motivational video in your inbox for your team. And I do that.
I'm signing up for that YouTube video, man. I need that Ian in my life. I need that motivational
every
video.
week. I haven't missed a week in over almost 2 years. So
holy shit.
That's the best way. LinkedIn, YouTube. If you want to check out my website, it's www.iankoniak.com. And if I can support you anyway, just DM me. And I love getting notes. If this has had an impact on you, let me know, and certainly love hearing that stuff. And yes, that's where to get me.
Ian, it's been a pleasure. It's 5:00 p.m. here on the East Coast, where Patrick and I are, which means I'm an hour away from hitting put my phone away, go spend time with family, just like you're telling me to do. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This has been a real treat to chat with you.
It's great to be here and happy to support the podcast, and let me know when it comes out and I'll promote it.
Heck yeah, man. Go check out Ian, and hope you all enjoyed the show. We'll see you all next week. Ian, adios.
Salud. Take care.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Customer Engagement Lab. For more of Travis and Patrick's chaotic energy, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you would make our hearts smile if you left a super quick rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the show deserves. It'll take you 2 seconds, I promise. Till next time.